How do you combine profitability and purpose? In this week's episode, we dive into the world of virtual restaurants that not only deliver delicious meals, but also embrace sustainability as part of its core mission. Join us as we explore the recipe for success as we speak with Mr. Rowell Del Fierro.
Don't be afraid to experiment. Kailangan lang bilisan nyo. You can plan for a year and not really know if your business is going to be successful. I think the easiest way for you to learn is to test it with the market.
We are now open for business.
It is a signal to the world. We are open for business.
There is a Japanese concept called ikigai, which means reason for being. It contains 4 principles: what you love, what you're good at, what the world needs, and what you can be paid for. When these 4 intersect, there is where you find your ikigai, or reason for being. The time when you find fulfillment in work and in life. In our episode today, we will speak with PurposeFoods Asia, owner of brands Master Gao and Kobe Bayan, a cloud kitchen business that is more than just the food it cooks. It is a force for good. Joining us to talk about their ikigai and overall business success in the virtual restaurant space is PurposeFoods Asia's president and CEO, Rowell Del Fierro. Welcome to Open for Business, Rowell.
And good evening, and thank you for having me.
The concept that I just mentioned earlier is something that's interesting, that provides this concept of purpose and this concept of profitability. I also mentioned things about, I think, virtual restaurant and cloud kitchen. Pero off-cam, we were talking na about cloud kitchen.
Correct.
So, can you give us the difference between cloud kitchen and virtual restaurants?
Okay, I think simply put, cloud kitchen is really a business where you put up a big kitchen and you rent it out to different brands. No? So they leverage the infrastructure that has been built instead of building their own. So for example, these are being used by popular brands when they're, for example, let's say, wanting to penetrate a new area. They want to test first if that area is any good for them, is a fit for their business. They can actually rent a space within a cloud kitchen operation and then therefore save on their capital expenses first before they actually build their own restaurant.
Okay, so in short, cloud kitchen, as you initially discussed, it's a new business model, or not necessarily new business model, where would-be entrepreneurs can save on costs.
Correct. So, as an example is that if you are trying to put up a restaurant business, instead na mag-spend ka for the capital expenses of actually putting up a kitchen, no, on your own, you can actually save a lot of money by first renting a space at a cloud kitchen and then see if that works for you. And if it works, then you can start the big investment. No? They could be established brands or they could be new brands. Kasi yung mga established brands, what they also do is let's say, yun nga, if they're entering a new market, they don't want to spend that big capital first. So they could actually test it first. So they do their food in the cloud kitchen first, and then before they actually establish their own stores. Or if you're an entrepreneur, you're building your brand, you can focus your capital on actually building the brand, no, marketing, etc. Wag muna doon sa capital expense na kailangan.
Normally, ano ba yung matitipid doon? You know, how much percentage can
It's
you
big,
save?
no? So, a big restaurant, for example, they will spend like, 10 to 15 million for capital expenses. Kasi mag-rent ka ng space, normally long-term yan. Ayusin mo, di ba? Ito, gawa na yung kitchens. Meron ka lang space and then you do all your food there. Yeah, do you prepare? You can even start on a delivery lang. Ibig sabihin, you can put your delivery-only services in the cloud kitchen and not in your main restaurant. So, if meron akong branch sa Quezon City, gusto kong itry, let's say, sa Manila, And then sa Manila, ayoko muna gumawa ng restaurant na malaki, test ko muna ng cloud kitchen. So delivery muna, titingnan ko muna kung yung area na yon may market for my food. Pag na-test ko na, siguro pwede na ako mag-commit.
When you mentioned, like, say, if you will build your own kitchen, the infrastructure and other expenses would be about 15, 17, ganyan. Pero pag when you avail of the services of a cloud kitchen, kahit standard figure lang.
So you could probably allot like 1 or 2 million pesos. You're already able to test if your business will work in that area.
Okay, so it's like a test
market.
market.
No long-term commitment.
Okay.
Diba? Kasi that's really their purpose.
I see.
Or, kung gusto mo lang talaga, satellite kitchen lang, let's say meron ako, I really run brick and mortar restaurants, pero let's say sa Marikina, hindi ako makakatayo ng restaurant doon, pero gusto ko magtayo lang ng delivery only. So mag-cloud kitchen na lang ako. Then I will just rent facilities of a cloud kitchen rather than putting up a restaurant that will cost me a lot of money.
In the market ba, Rowell, marami ng ganito? And how different is the cloud kitchen that you have?
Salamat for asking for the differentiation. No? So to your first question, yes, there's a couple of big players, well-funded players who are doing this. No? And therefore, they provide spaces for other brands. The difference between a virtual restaurant like us, and I sort of name it differently, kasi kami, we operate delivery-only restaurant services. So wala kaming dine-in. Yung restaurants namin, talagang kitchen lang. No, so talagang nakaka-order ka lang via our website, then you have the food delivered. So ang difference lang namin sa kanila, we don't actually have our spaces rented to other brands. We are mainly focused on growing and building and growing our own brand. Pero wala kaming dine-in. So pareho kami, normally ang cloud kitchen wala ding dine-in. Ang virtual restaurants wala ding dine-in.
Why did you, Rowell, design, that kind of business model? Why probably you can call it an innovation?
Yes. So it started with, during the pandemic, there was an eatery run by my brother, which is actually Master Gao and Kobe Bayan, that was getting threatened for closing because of the pandemic. So his purpose was, hey, kawawa naman yung mga tao kung mawawalan sila ng work. So they had like 10 people. And then we started with that, and then I told him if we could innovate. Like I knew about cloud kitchens already, and then I've seen a lot of operators na puro delivery lang. So I said, why don't we try it? But then we wanted to design it in an industrial scale, no? Yung kaya namin mag-grow not just from, 2 remote restaurants into like really making it into a chain. The first thing was really business. Like we're thinking, hey, there's an opportunity to do this. The second was for me, your intro on Ikigai. I think I was at the stage that I was also looking at how do we make better impact in the environment. And I think that was really triggered by the pandemic. You're rethinking purpose, like how can you sustainably impact the environment and the people around you. So we started innovating our business model across those two. We have to make money at the same time actually make an impact. Kaya ang tawag namin sa amin for profit and for progress. The idea was that how can we build a business model wherein even if we just think about growing the profit, automatically because of the business model design, nag-grow yung impact mo. And we built our values on Purpose Foods around that. Na parang, okay, let's select anong gusto nating i-impact. No? And for F&B sector, ang main impact na gagawa mo is mainly really to the people that work for you.
I'm just curious on the behavior now of the market. You mentioned about this business model that really happened during the pandemic. Logistics, deliveries,
Correct.
you're there, and it has been sustained. As a matter of fact, even it soared. Even the big brands are doing that. But don't you see also that people are going back to
the
the
normal,
mall.
no? They want,
Parang we're going back to the pre-pandemic levels,
Correct.
diba, in a lot of things.
Correct.
But as I see it, And as I experience it, because syempre, in our family also, di ba? Parang instead of going out, okay, let's order, di ba? That's already part of our lifestyle. But how do you describe now the behavior of the consumers? Na may nababalanse ba yun?
Correct. It's a great question actually. It was a question that we had to parang assess whether we will continue to invest kasi baka build ng virtual restaurants. Yun pala, the behavior will be they're gonna go back to the malls and so on and so forth. No? I think there were a few things that really encouraged us to keep on moving forward. So number one, we decided na we were gonna target mainly the comfort food sector. So, unang-una, hindi kami fast food. Like real hot food yung sinaserve namin. Comfort food. So, yung mga generally Filipinos love food. Gusto nila rice-based meals and so on and so forth. No? Kailangan mainit. Ang first na ginawa namin, we will target a broad market and see. Second is, I think there's been a change in the way people work because of the pandemic. So, maybe half of the population are actually now working from home, particularly in Metro Manila. Everyone's hybrid, and when you're actually working hybrid, you don't actually cook anymore. Lalo na, diba? We had a hypothesis that it was gonna continue, but we weren't sure, right? So in fact, we only built most of our restaurants after mid-2022, nung nag-relax na, we were looking at, is the trend gonna continue? And then thankfully, based on our numbers, it has actually grown quite significantly. So mukhang lumalaki yung market. Tsaka nasa-sustain. We also suspect, because of the demographics of the Filipinos, the median age is only 26 years old. So the workforce are actually young.
Younger na, yeah.
Younger, they want to be independent, they live in the city. So mga ano yan, couples, hindi ito yung type na mas matipid magluto. Bibili ka ng ingredients, mabubulok, and then you wash afterwards. So again, all these hypotheses will only be worthwhile to really see in action. And our numbers basically show that, yeah, this is sustainable. And actually, research has shown that virtual kitchens is going to be the fastest growing segment in the food service arena. No? So parang mas mabilis siya mag-grow kaysa sa putting up physical restaurants, for example. So the ordering of food is going to just grow faster in terms
Is
of
that
volume.
a global trend, or you observe that here in the Philippines now?
They have a survey country by country. It's been pretty much consistent in Southeast Asia, so I'm like focusing on that. But I think Philippines, nga, because of its demographics, is very different in that way. And remember, we also have a 24/7 economy because of the BPOs. So you don't have this data, but 46% of our sales happen after 9 p.m. to 6 a.m.
So yung mga graveyard shift yan. Wow,
Kasi
interesting.
ang options mo lang pag binuksan mo yung app mo, puro ano yan, halos lahat fast food. Yung nagbubukas ng 24 hours. So yung mga actual hot food restaurants, halos lahat sila sarado na by that time.
Yeah.
So we're getting that market because all of our kitchens are 24/7 as well.
I see.
We call it real hot food, no? So it will arrive to you definitely freshly cooked. It's very hot. It's not your usual burger, pizza, fries, not the Western fast food. And that's been the gap that we are filling in the market. Like, how do you give better options to Filipinos, no? So there are options during regular hours, madami kayo nagsaserve, then it's a question of price point and quality and all that. After hours, the choices become fewer. Part of our thesis was that there's this demand that's unmet, right? And therefore, how do we reach them? So we started experimenting on that. And therefore, we became a 24/7 outfit, which also helps us kasi sabihin konti ang competition. Mahirap magpatakbo ng 24/7 na ano. So, we had to innovate our business model as well to be able to still do that and meet our cost. Kailangan kumikita pa rin kami despite the fact. So, we did all of that. So, meron kaming mga secret sauce na how we're able to do this. And I can share some of those. That's
very interesting, Rowell, because you're very laser focused on identifying key opportunities or demands or needs that are unmet, di ba? But there is also a factor of location yan, di ba? Location, like say you mentioned earlier, you're focusing on the younger market, you're focusing on BPOs as well. These are in key urban centers.
Correct.
So in your case, in your study, you have right now, I think, I know, maybe if you can discuss the many branches that you have and then your 24/7, are there specific target or key areas where you really want this to grow?
Yeah, you're right. So maybe I'll give you why our business model works. No? So obviously, if you're in the food sector, ang ano mo dyan, quality, price, and the balance of that. No? So hygiene na yan. For sure, pag hindi maganda yung quality ng food mo, hindi na sila uulit. Pag yung price mo hindi din tama, hindi na rin sila bibili kasi sobrang daming options. That's not the real challenge. That's already parang if you can't do those two, don't even go into the food business, right? But it's really how do you consistently provide and reliably provide that service. And then the other challenge is, yes, kaya ko yan i-provide pag isang restaurant lang ako, nababantayan ko, but how do you scale it? Ito na yung, paano ko mapapadami, no? Na mapoprovide ko yan kahit magtayo ako ng 50 restaurants. Nagagawa ito ng mga malalaking outfits like, the big fast foods. Slightly a little bit more difficult if you're like an SME, 'di ba? Capital is limited. So for us, we really rely on people. For them to be well trained. And sa F&B, medyo mahirap kasi ang F&B mataas ang turnover ng mga tao. So ang isa sa mga namin is how do you make sure you are able to retain people? If you cook Filipino food, mahirap siyang gawing station by station. Kasi kailangan mo ng malaking operations. Hindi naman kami ganon. So kailangan yung magaling ang pagka-train ng mga tao namin, and we should aim on ensuring that we attract and retain them. So the hard part is how do you retain these people? Diba? Tinrain mo ng 3 months tapos mawawala ka agad. So isa yon sa part of our mission, as we said, na parang we go after the marginalized sector. In fact, wala kaming criteria na kailangan educated ka, kailangan may background ka in cooking before you join us. You just need to be masinop and willing to learn. So we don't even care about educational background and all that. They can join us. We will train them. We will even house them. While they're on training, they get paid. If they pass the training, they have a job. Wala kaming concept ng contractual. All of our staff have a path towards regularization. Over 130 of our staff, siguro mga regular na dyan, over 100 at this point. And because of that, so they also live with us mostly. We subsidize their food, right? So which caters to, again, our 24/7 nature. So kaya namin gawin yon. So therefore, our staff stays longer. Because yung net pay na nila actually is likely mga 20 to 25% higher. Kasi wala na silang problema sa food, sa kuryente, sa tubig, etc. Diba? So they can do that if they work with us. So our attrition has been very low. So yun yung isa sa secret na kung gusto mo sustain yung quality ng food mo, alagaan mo yung mga tao mo. Pag nalagaan mo yung mga tao mo, then you have a consistent quality. In fact, our ratings for our stores is 4.7 on average across all our stores. 4.7 out of 5. That's very rare.
What is very interesting there is there's only a few talaga who do this, and some are just lip service.
Correct,
in your case, I can sense that from the get-go, from the start, parang you studied how to create, as you mentioned, both profit and progress.
Yeah.
But what is your inspiration there?
This is so linked to my values as well. And I think as I got older, and then there are different ways of paying back. Right. I'm really more of a business person. That's really where my strength is. I can scale businesses, I can manage them. But what has been lacking when I decided to pivot to, do only things that also impact the society and the environment in general, I thought of it that the best way is to leverage on my own strengths. So I can build businesses, but if the businesses are really just profit-centered, then, iba syempre yung values, no? So I really had to take a look at how do I innovate the business model such that even if I push for high profitability, that automatically nag-i-impact na siya. Food is a traditional business model. A restaurant is a traditional business model. You go into, anything, you can redesign it if you have the right values. No? So for me, the inspiration has been that na parang ayoko magtayo ng social enterprise, kasi karamihan ng mga social enterprise nalulugi. So, kumukuha sila ng mga grants. So, hindi naman lahat. May mga very successful, but very rare. They are run by really good people, good intent, but they're not doing very well as a business perspective. I know that I can make a business successful, but how do I make sure that as my business grows, my impact grows? Automatically, I don't even have to think about the impact. Diba? Ang focus ko is to grow the business, which is, in our case, if we are able to grow this business to say $1 billion in sales, like to 1,000 people, I know that I'll be able to impact 1,000 people, right? Who were ordinarily, they would have not been able to access even a minimum wage job. Kasi yung marginalized sector na tina-target namin, ganun hirap sila to even qualify for a minimum wage job, much less a permanent job, a regular job. So how do we help them? And then we really found that we've found a treasure around that. They're more loyal, they're more caring, they really appreciate, the help that they're getting, they appreciate the company, they're more hardworking, right? And as we grow our business, that will be the values that, we will have, like, we will inspire more of that. And I think the other difference is that my background is not food. I can scale business. I will take a look at it differently. So when I went to food, iba yung tingin ko, hindi traditional. So ang question ko, pag in-advise ako, why are you doing that? Why not? It makes sense. I'll give you an example. Like, our setup, wala kaming branch managers. Typically, you run a store, may branch manager ka, di ba? So we don't do that. To save on cost, we centralize the management. We use a lot of data. So we're very, very data-enabled. Real-time, namomonitor namin lahat ng sales namin on a real-time basis. Sobrang konti lang ang out of stock namin because of that. Because immediately we get informed when something is running out, we get delivery from the commissary. That's how we can provide reliable service to our customers. And then, eventually, that feedback loop is the one that really makes us achieve the 4.7 rating. And based on our data, more than half of our existing orders are from returning customers. This is with very little advertising, right? So, alam mong nagbi-build up siya, binabalik din ng customer yung loyalty just because they are getting the best service to take, or best food, best value, whatever it is.
So the way I hear you now, and I think that's also the trend in what we see in various industries, what they call technopreneurs. Parang you apply technology in setting up a business, di ba? Because as you said, you're into innovation and technology. Marami na bang ganyan din sa food business?
The big ones are certainly doing that now. Yung data nila is real time and they're doing all of that. No? So, and I think everything is technology enabled. You will see later on that AI will play into a lot of these things. And it will enable a lot of things. And even for us, like if we could predict, for example, our inventory or even our customer service, if we could put technology behind that, I will probably be a first user. Madami ngayon because of the need to compete. Food margins kasi are thin. So you have to stay ahead of the game. The price points that people can afford is like this because of inflation. So all your costs and ingredients are going up. Something's gotta give, diba? So if you use technology to increase your productivity, it's really a requirement. So you see, like even the popular burger chains, diba? You order your food na through a screen, for example. So that means less staff, diba? You see a lot of these restaurants are also doing delivery na rin, basically leveraging on technology. Marami ka nang nakikita na multiple brands pero isang kitchen nagsusupport. So they're trying a lot of different technological advancements because it's already available.
But Rowell, are you not worried about this competition? Kasi like say for example, okay, you're into the business of innovation, but sometimes as we see it, diba, it's easy for others. It's easy to copy the business model.
I think the market is big enough. There's no foolproof business unless you're like, it's a very high capital incentive business. For example, kung telco ka, you need gazillions of money to do that. So very, very few competition. But food will always have a lot of competition. You really have to stay ahead of your game all the time. And I think because we were born in the digital age, mas we're nimble. You know, in fact, we can decide very, very quickly.
Yeah, mas agile.
Super agile. So kami, we're data-led agility is what we call it. So as we receive information, you know, we gather all our feedback, for example, and we immediately make changes on our menu, on the mix. Let's say, oh, this is too salty. Tapos teka muna, validate natin yan. So madaming, so we can group all of that and make sure we change, we feedback into our commissary. So test namin, order kami, tas, you know, and then we go, okay, reduce salt by 10%. So we can do so many things very, very quickly.
With all these apps, are these programmed by your staff? Are these proprietary?
No, so that's a good thing, no? So all of these are available to anyone.
Okay.
But you see, data is just as good as how you interpret it.
Yeah.
You use it, diba? Parang, what we do is we accumulate data on real time. We look at it. Basically, kung yung ibang restaurants, what they do is marami silang bantay dun sa restaurant nila and so on and so forth. Kami, centralized. We get the data because our customers feedback a lot.
Pero baka sabihin ng mga nanonood sa atin, Rowell, magagawa ni Rowell yan, IT expert siya eh. O, para kami Excel lang. So yun ba, kaya din gawin ng mga nanonood sa atin na
I can already tell you, we're still on Excel, right? So or, you know, spreadsheet pa rin yan. Yung data lang, binabasa namin.
Okay.
So yung approach namin to it, diba? Parang all of these guys are giving you feedback. It's how you accumulate it and then read it. Yung management team namin, lahat kami naka-remote. So every one of us, there's only 5 core members of the team. Lahat kami to meeting and real time, may dashboards kami, ganyan. Every Monday, nire-report yung reviews, bad reviews, good reviews. We share that to our staff. We congratulate the ones who like achieving really good appreciation from customers, and so on and so forth. So we've learned to do things a little bit differently, I think, than others, and therefore, if kami nakasimula kami ng ganito na hindi naman ako restaurateur, di ba? I think I would encourage, as you said, wala masyadong barriers for entry. What we're trying to build though, over time, is to build a trusted brand. Yun yung tinatawag nating moat na parang, pag galing sa PurposeFoods yan, maayos yan. So eventually, we're building Kobe Bayan as our Filipino comfort food. Master Gao is our Filipino-Chinese kitchen. No, comfort food din yan na siniserve namin. We will launch a 3rd brand and so on. So eventually, we will be known for that. Reputation kasi is everything over time.
When I was younger, I memorized the 17 SDGs or the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. And normally, these are key themes that are discussed by more of the conglomerates. But my question now is, parang here is PurposeFoods Asia, you know, talking about aligning itself to the 17 SDGs. So, ano yung inspiration mo dito? What specific goals? So, we know that there's 17. Sa 17, ano yung nagre-resonate sa'yo na goal and why did you choose that specific SDG?
So, not all businesses can serve the 17 goals. And I really don't focus on exactly telling people what the SDGs are because it's really, very technical. I mean, the reason why I know about it is because I studied it for my master's. I went into development. And that's where I actually saw that there's a very big gap between practice and theory. Like there are all these technicalities, measures of how you impact the environment, the community, you know, the way people live, etc. What it lacks is how do you practice it, no? Kunyari, let's say, If I put up a restaurant, I can choose from the 17 where I feel this business best impact, and it will really impact the people and the workers. So, nag-focus ako doon. So, parang, okay, ano ba to? Kailangan yung the dignity of work, yung equality, all of these stuff na. So, that's why we're very inclusive in our hiring. That's why it resulted to us saying, bakit hindi mo may regular yan? Diba? Bakit pa 6, pa 5 months lang? Bakit ka mag-agency? Ano yung ano? So, we changed all of that because of the values that we hold. Right? And we don't separate it because we actually think, and this is what we've tested with our business here. If you focus on making it better for, in this case, the people, they will pay you back. So, serving these values has actually become a competitive advantage for us. Hindi siya madaling gayahin. The fact that the huge corporations are getting into it is great. They should. Right? They're making billions, right?
Yes.
Out of the same customers, and I think they can make the best impact. What I'm encouraging people to do, though, whether you're doing a small business or a big business, if you're in the private sector, nothing naman prevents you from impacting your circle of influence positively, diba? So if my circle of influence for now is just 100 employees, I'll make it really better for them. My business grows, it will become 1,000. Maybe I'll become a conglomerate, di ba? At some point, I don't know.
We know that in the food business, sabi mo nga, parang, competition is fierce as well, di ba? And competition is there. But sa lahat ng industriya, di ba? At sa lahat ng mga entrepreneurs, pag food talaga, kahit yung nung pandemic, di ba? Magluto ka lang ng fishball, entrepreneur ka na, di ba? How did you come up with this unique selling proposition of all the many menus or brands? Why the focus on those two and your planned brand?
Quality and cost is always important to a customer. So pag nasa food business ka, mamamatay ka anyway if you don't address these two. Those are not competitive advantages anymore. The main thing is that how do you now make sure that your quality is dependable and reliable and available? So kami, where we actually competed was that, okay, we will go into hot food only.
Okay.
So hindi tayo burger, hindi tayo sandwich. Kung ano yung comfort food ng Pilipino, which is mainly rice-based. We have, basically we're your warm hug. Our biggest seller, you wouldn't believe, is the lugaw.
Oh, yes.
Lugaw.
Okay.
And
Tama.
our
Comfort
tapa.
food talaga yun.
Comfort food talaga.
Pati
diba?
tapa. Comfort
tapa.
food.
So, yan.
Under what brand? Ito
so
si
Master Gao is lugaw, ano yan. Nag-start kasi yan.
Master Gao, lugaw talaga
lugaw
yan.
talaga siya.
Kaya Gao.
Si Kobe Bayan, actually, that started as a kakanin brand. Kaya yan Kobe kasi kabaliktaran ng Biko.
Okay.
So we just para lang may recall, so the only 24-hour kakanin place. You can order Biko anytime. We have sapin-sapin, we have suman. Then it evolved into a Filipino kitchen. So ngayon ang most popular namin are the Kobe breakfast. So led by the tapa, the tapsilog and so on.
Pero meron din alam mo, like I like pakbet, meron din yan.
We are going into, like, for example, our kare-kare that we introduced is one of our best sellers. We make that from scratch. Now we buy the peanuts, we roast them. Kahit yung alamang, which is the bagoong, we make it as well. So when you go into like quality production, sa amin nagiging sulit kasi parang it's restaurant quality that you can order like a fast food. So ang gap na inaano namin really is that ang available normally na mabilis at a certain price point is fast food. Ito hot food, quality hot food that is available all the time. On demand. As we add more items on our menu, kung ano yung mga favorites ng mga tao, we see that the people are following it. The harder part is ensuring you're able to deliver consistent quality all the time and then expand it, let's say, across our 13 branches now, lahat the same. How do you create a template, the quality is maintained, and the cost is brought down? Yun yung medyo challenge. I still encourage, like the small restaurants, yung mga home-based, and I think those are great, but they can only serve a certain group kasi. Kami, we're in the scale business.
What's your parameter in choosing your menu? Is it from the feedback of the customers?
So, we are known for our classics. Kasi nga comfort food eh. So,
So lahat ng
nostalgia,
comfort
diba?
food.
Isa-isahin namin yan, let's say. And then there are regional favorites. Eventually, we will come up with regional favorites. The Filipinos also, yung kanilang comfort food, hindi na lang Filipino food. So you will see us later on seeing na, let's say, some Korean food or like
Korean, Japanese,
na sa kanila,
sometimes.
di ba? So, yung mga popular Asian comfort food, we will be introducing that. In fact, we are
Interesting.
going to launch a new brand siguro 3-4 weeks from now that will feature different comfort foods from Asia.
Wow.
So, yun naman yung next namin, no? So, that's another brand that we will launch and that will be introduced slowly across all our branches.
So far, you have two, Master Gao and
Kobe Bayan.
Kobe Bayan. And then what's the third?
The third is called Bistro Bowl Star.
Okay, which features?
These would be Asian favorites,
Ah,
rice
okay.
bowls, kaya bowl stars. Let's say sa Japanese, ano yung masasarap na Japanese, ano yung masasarap na Korean, na comfort food sa, yung mga Pinoy are very friendly na to it. So we will have a selection of those, like a good range. We will start with 20 different dishes that will be available. No? And they're easy to eat, like naka-bowl na kasi, tapos may protein, enough rice, so maganda yung quantity.
It's so salivating that I imagine all this comfort food that you are mentioning. But my question now is, how do you balance yung virtual restaurant mo doon sa dine-in? Kasi di ba nakikita natin, we observed already that people are going back, but there's also a huge market for deliveries, di ba?
Correct.
So what's your plan in terms of keeping that virtual restaurant, at the same time putting up, this brick and
Mortar na, no? It's a great question. So, naging strategy kasi namin, what is the most cost-efficient way to build a brand? Building your brand, pag may capital ka, the easiest is really you put up brick and mortar. They see it, they feel it, you see it in whether the food court or individual restaurants. But it will require millions per store. And before you can, how can you build that? So kami, ang approach namin, online muna tayo. Build a brand, very cost-efficient way of letting our customers taste our food. And then getting them to know who we are, right? So we are now at that stage. We're now just over 2 years, right? 2 years old. We have a great rating. So our plan is, number one, to expand maybe between 7 and 10 branches additionally per year from next year. Virtual kitchens muna. Virtual restaurants muna yan. We've started experimenting now on dine-in, right? Pero ang hindi pa kami sure, is it gonna be a full-blown restaurant? Are we gonna do food court type? Kasi the flexibility that we have now is there. So we have to choose a sector on the brick and mortar that we know our strengths are gonna be leveraged. Should we go into franchising? We have so many offers now. Hey, franchise kayo. We don't know yet. I have nothing against franchising, but I think doing it too soon can be a problem for your brand, your brand building. You lose some control kasi over that, no? So our plan is really, to reach like whatever the sales of the bigger ones are and do it in a very sure-footed and thoughtful way, So yun muna, and then what they can expect from Purpose Foods is introduction of Bowl Star, which is our rice bowls that will be available starting with a few branches next month, and we should be able to expand that across our branch network by the end of the year. Then we add 7 more branches. Kasi to us, adding a branch obviously is covering a new market. Kasi ganun naka-geo-fence ang mga delivery. Pag may branch ka dito, you can only serve certain number of kilometers away from that branch. No?
But what's your focus now in terms of geographic area?
Metro Manila kami, Metro Manila
Okay.
wide. I think we can put up to 50 branches in Metro Manila and still be okay. So why venture out? Kasi venturing out means I have to build the whole infrastructure. Let's say it's Cebu, for example. That means I have to put up a commissary, make sure that I build fast kasi para may scale ka agad, no? In Metro Manila, may scale na kasi kami.
So, you're telling me now, Rowell, na the market is still huge. Kahit sa Metro Manila, ano pa rin yan? Parang malaki pa rin yung merkado.
Delivery pa lang kami ha. So, ang isipin mo when we go into brick and mortar, mas malaking market kasi yun eh. I'll give you an example. If we decide to go into food courts, for example, no? Like serving generally same, very convenient hot food sector. Imagine mo ilan ang malls, ilan ang food courts. Like if we can become successful in one, may growth path na kami. You just put up more, right? So that will be a simple growth plan for us. But for now, we're very, very careful with ensuring na kaya ba namin mag-scale and still maintain quality. So doon ako careful.
But Rowell, what is your grand vision? As I sense it now, you're very scientific, you're data-driven, you are very pragmatic as well in your business model and how you conduct things in business, which is very good. What is your grand plan? I know that, you could be the next big thing in your segment of the food industry.
Like just dreaming how big it can be. No? So there are a lot of good brands out there, right? Nasa Instagram, pero hindi nila kaya mag-scale. So ang dream ko talaga is that if I could take these brands and scale them, so that's number one, in the Philippines. Kasi maraming mga regional brands eh. There are brands that you grew up with that no longer exist, or the growth has been yung mga legacy brands. So I can name some of them in my mind na parang kung ako yan, I can like make that really big, diba? Parang yun na yung parang I think our next, like a really big step for us is that if we're able to attract enough investment, I will buy these brands and build them bigger.
So are you open to like what the Gen Zs or Alphas mention now? Are you open to collabs? Yung collaborations, partnerships?
Yeah. I mean, SDG 17, by the way, is partnerships.
Yeah, okay. Yes.
So we built our own partnerships. Definitely. I mean, the whole point of being out there is to like attending this show is like to make people know what we do, and then we're open to partnerships now. But when you think bigger, it has to be bigger than the Philippines, right? Like I could take, if I have a potential partner in Vietnam, for example, build a brand. We could do the same thing, right? Then get those Vietnamese brands over here, Filipino brands over there. I mean, you can think as big as you can with food. That's what's good about it, right? As long as you have a great brand and a strategy na parang hindi ka mamamatay. Madami kasi,
bumunusok. Pero
talagang dive. Parang trendy. So if you notice our food are not trendy, yung question mo, like, oh, they're so innovative on their food, ganyan. We're more comfort. Like, we're the warm hug. Like, this is very familiar. We want the mothers to default. Order ka na lang sa Kobe. Because you know it's good all the time. It's reliable. You know that your kids like it. You like, I wanna be that boring brand. Na go-to. Diba? Na parang pagod na pagod si mami, order ka na lang. So instead na mag-order ka na lang ng burger or whatever, order ka na lang sa...
I love that.
So that's what we eventually want to do and give them enough options for hot meals. So eventually our is like maybe introduce other comfort food of different Asian markets. It's already been popular in the Philippines anyway.
Wow, very comforting. We've heard, good stuff from you and a lot of insights. Pero ang gusto rin malaman ng mga manunood, ano naman yung dinanas mo na pain point at how were you able to recover from it? Kasi relatively young kayo, di ba? Minsan, dyan talaga yung, hirap din, di ba? With some talagang, for them to really establish that brand, sila mismo hands-on, di ba? In your case, what were the major pain points and challenges that you experienced before reaching this growing level?
Ako personally, I had to switch from being 30 years of corporate. Loved doing it. I was successful. I was making enough, which allowed me to actually parang experiment on this. But I think that was the hardest, just the switch. So it will not be the same as someone na parang, oh, I'm just starting a business, a small business, how do I grow? I'm happy to helping people do that, by the way, because that's exactly what we did with the small businesses, diba? Pero yun yung that change na nawala yung security blanket mo, and then now that we have like 130 people, depending on us, like we have to meet payroll month on month. Wala kami masyadong drama on my end, but for example, my brother, this is his full-time job, right? Like, he made this his mission na, okay, I being an entrepreneur is by nature very difficult, right? And if you are not ready for these challenges, right, you will fail a lot of times, right? Maybe go get a job instead than being an entrepreneur, because it is painful. The other thing is that I work very closely with family and very close friends, diba? That's harder. Because part of our mission is also the people closest to us, which is family, and then when they ask help from you every now and then, what I do instead is offer them a job. You need help? I'll give you a job. That's part of our mission. So working with very close friends and family and running a business is very challenging on its own. Capital is obviously an issue in the beginning. Nung yung cash flow namin hindi pa maganda, kasi nagsisimula ka pa lang. Hindi mo alam kung okay ba to, hindi ba to, diba? Nagpatayo kami ng commissary, di pa kami nagbebenta. Parang, paano kaya yan? But it's the perseverance naman of a lot of people around me is very, very encouraging. And the mission makes it worth it for us at the end.
I agree. This conversation has been very fulfilling because somehow, there's purpose in it. And I salute the people behind PurposeFoods Asia for making the SDGs and sustainability as the foundation. Okay, now Rowell, ano naman yung mga tips natin sa mga startups, sa mga entrepreneurs?
I think number one, ibang-iba na yung economy ngayon. So hindi nyo kailangan ng malaking kapital para mag-start magnegosyo. You can actually leverage a lot of available technology and platforms out there, and you don't have to put big capital just to start a business. You will be very surprised how much we started with in this business and how much it is worth now. And all we did was actually leverage the existing technologies. That's there, available yan for all, whether that's Facebook, whether that's mga apps, ginamit namin yan lahat. So that's number one. Second, don't be afraid to experiment. Kailangan lang bilisan nyo. Ibig sabihin, yung sinasabi nila na fail fast, totoo yun. You can plan for a year and not really know if your business is going to be successful. I think the easiest way for you to learn is to test it with the market. Test mo, i-out mo, kasi kung mababa lang naman ng kapital para mailabas mo yan, ang pinaka-reliable way to understand if your product or your service is going to be a hit is to actually ask the actual buyers, diba? Kung nag-respond sila, damihan mo, kunyari positive yung response, damihan mo yon. Kung hindi sila nag-respond, alisin mo na kagad yon. So response mo mabilis. Hindi katulad ng mga lumang negosyo na ang tagal, tapos nalugi ka na, tapos hindi ka na makabangon. So wag masyadong madaming objective, 2, 3 objectives at a time, then focus. Test it out in the market, fail fast, and then iterate. Develop mo lang ng develop. Eventually, you'll hit a mark, and then that's it, It's a much cheaper way to achieve success and growth in this business.
Well said, Rowell. At bago tayo matapos, saan sila mag-order ng comfort food? Be it the Filipino classics or the Chinese favorites, where will they go if they want that?
Be one, So this year is a pivotal year for us. This year we will have over 1 million items sold from our business. We also have a website which is PurposeFoods.ph. So you can order from our website or 24 hours via the popular food delivery apps. So, yun yung best way to reach us. Or, pwede nyo din puntahan yung Facebook namin, hanapin nyo lang yung Kobe Bayan, tsaka Bastergaw. Kung ayaw nyo ng apps, pwede kayo mag-order doon, magme-message lang kayo. Tapos, we will take care of the delivery.
Order tayo mamaya. This has been a very interesting conversation with the President and CEO of PurposeFoods Asia, Mr. Rowell Del Fierro. Open for business. We'll be back. Stay tuned. Maraming salamat sa iyo, Rowell. Thank you so much. At maraming salamat sa isang oras na pagsama sa amin upang tunghayan ang isang makabuluhang usapan ukol sa negosyo dito lang sa Open for Business. Hanggang sa susunod na linggo. Samahan niyo kaming muli dito sa Open for Business. Catch us too on Facebook and YouTube. Like and subscribe on our social media page at Net25 TV. We will bring you more insights from industry experts, thought leaders, CEOs, and featured SMEs. Together, let us help encourage business development in the Philippines. Sharpen your business acumen, feel the pulse, and set the trend for as long as you are informed and open for business. Ito po si Cesar Vallejos. Marami pong salamat.